Hello and welcome back to One Hive TV. I'm your host T Wells. I appreciate you for joining us. Today we're going to debut a brand new type of content where we take a look at one specific DAO where there's a lot of awesome activity going on we think you should know about. If you are a subscriber, you've been checking out our videos, you know that we cover news from around the DAO space. We're going to continue to push out snapshot headline segments like our recent one you can find in the upper right hand corner. But we are also going to produce videos that focus specifically on DAOs where there is a lot of action. And certainly this week, there's no place better to start than with the ShapeShift DAO. Each DAO-specific episode is going to be broken into two parts. The first is pending or recently passed proposals, and we will use whatever on-chain or decision-making mechanism that the DAO uses to allocate resources as a source of truth for this section. In the case of ShapeShift, we will use Snapshot. The second category will be ideation. So these will be different ideas that seem to be percolating in the DAO, something that is sort of elevated above Discord. We'll typically use Discourse or a DAO forum as our source of information for these types of stories, things that seem to have legs that may turn into future proposals. We're going to dig into that and help you understand it as well. Turning now to look specifically at the ShapeShift DAO, we're going to start with a recently passed addendum to the Fox Bond program. Now, the Fox Bonds initiative was kickstarted early last month. That would be the beginning of October. And this more recent addendum empowers a committee of ShapeShift DAO core contributors to more autonomously manage aspects of the bond program. And details were discussed in last week's governance call.
Next up, should this addendum to proposal SCP-25, the Fox Bond program through the Olympus DAO.
Currently, we are seeing the demand continue to be high for these bonds, and the committee is proposing 3xing the amount of bonds and moving the daily reward up to 100,000 Fox per day. And the entire committee is in favor of this. We've also kind of talked with John and a few other people that are that have additional knowledge as well, along with the Olympus team.
Can you tell me like how many people are on the committee?
Yeah, so the committee is myself, Never Was, Hunt, Marley, ShapeShift, and Josh F. The current suggestion is to do 3x the current bond rates and then to increase it from the 28,906 Fox per day to 100,000 per day as the rewards rate. And then we want to test this for a 2-week period, and then we will reconvene and or do some further analysis to see how we're doing. So if all of a sudden we're starting to see the bonds not selling out, we may need to adjust them back down some, or if they're still selling out, we may have room to move it up even further.
Another recently passed proposal will commission the second NFT run by artist Spiritfox. The first work was commissioned earlier this summer. Spiritfox created 10 unique NFTs to commemorate the first 10 proposals to pass the ShapeShift DAO. The most recent proposal will commission Spiritfox to create another run of 10 NFTs, this time in the theme of a crypto zoo. And all these NFTs will be minted and deposited directly into the ShapeShift DAO treasury. Spiritfox shared a little bit more about her work in the recent governance call.
So this is in process, and the first piece will be dropping really, really soon, and I'm super excited. And I had some help with some members in the community, and I'm super excited to share what is coming out. So thank you, everyone, for voting.
And it's such an interesting way to not only diversify treasury assets, but to empower the artists in our midst, the non-technical people. I think this is something we'll probably see replicated across other DAOs, and it is certainly a testament to the health of the ShapeShift DAO community. Also on the NFT front, Willie Fox's recent proposal for the DAO to accept custody of 16 rare NFTs from ShapeShift Corporate has passed. We can anticipate future proposals on how these assets are to be managed. In the meantime, the good news is the NFTs are headed to the ShapeShift DAO treasury.
The proposal that's up is to basically, if the DAO accepts the terms that have been proposed, the DAO is going to be receiving 16 of these very rare cards into its treasury. 5 of those would be available immediately, and then the other 5 and the other 6 would basically unlock over 1 and 2 years respectively, based on social consensus. So, I mean, I think, assuming that the DAO accepts those cards, and I personally don't really know why it wouldn't, because the alternative is to get nothing. It's either get something for free or get nothing. I think there is a good tokenomics workstream discussion to be had about what should happen with those 5 assets. And this is something like a lot of the people in the NFT and Spells of Genesis community will probably be watching closely. Like, is it better for the DAO to, go ahead and auction 1 or 2 of those off and, get some ETH in its treasury as a result? Or is it better to maybe hold on to them long term? Like these could be super, super valuable assets that just enrich the value of Fox holders just being in the treasury. You know, another way to think about it is all Fox holders will own a portion of those assets via their stake in Fox. What is important in my mind is that the DAO, once it receives these assets, it would be good for the DAO to communicate its intentions outwards to the rest of the community that cares about these things, because that really could have an impact, because the assets that the DAO will hold, when there'll be less than 200 of these things in existence, it'll hold a very significant share of them.
Next, we want to take a look at the token swap between ShapeShift DAO and Thorchain. This proposal is to take 1 million Fox and swap it with 1 million RUNE, and then both projects will deposit it to seed Fox liquidity on Thorchain.
Thorchain on their testnet just is adding Fox token, or at least whitelisting it. I assume it'll just be a matter of time before that makes its way to ChaosNet. Just wanted to kind of discuss, one, if you guys are aware of Thorchain, if we wanted to talk about creating a liquidity pool there. If we did want to, when the best time is, because they still are in ChaosNet. Who knows what could change between now and then, but early estimates are saying, a Christmas time transfer to mainnet or sometime early 2022.
What Thorchain put up is they currently, as part of them coming back from their issues and their hack, is that part of their safety measures is they, at least currently, I don't think this will be the case a long time, but they currently have a whitelist of ERC20s basically that are allowed on Thorchain. And that PR that's up right now would at least whitelist Fox as one of the assets that is allowed. That doesn't in and of itself create a pool. So either something like the DAO or the community would still need to get a pool up and going. Put another way is we can't stop it. The community can't, once it's whitelisted, if someone wants to put up a pool, then they can do it. So my guess is that it will happen sooner than later, and I personally am fine with that. I would like to see it up and tradable on Thorchain, kind of ASAP in my opinion.
Finally, in past proposals, we have the election of Diggy as product workstream lead for the DAO. She shared a bit about herself and her history at ShapeShift with the community.
I'm Diggy. I was part of centralized ShapeShift on the product team. I was the senior UX manager there. Historically, before I came to ShapeShift, I was director of UX for probably about 7 years across different companies. Like many people, I started before I became director of UX, I started as a designer and just kind of worked my way up over the years. I have definitely a ton of experience leading and contributing to and designing plenty of successful products. And my goal as workstream leader will be to make sure that we have the right resources to execute everything that we want to get done, execute quickly, and execute the best products that we can for the success of the DAO.
Turning now to ideation at the ShapeShift DAO, there are a number of active conversations. The first of which is KPI Options. This is something that I think has been kicked around in the Discord and parts of the forum for a little while now. KPI Options are, of course, a tool to incentivize contributors. Two different DAOs, Bankless, Aragon, Badger, are all experimenting with this tool, and it seems like something that may grow legs and become a proposal in the future, more formally. So there's a temperature check on this topic right now up on the ShapeShift forum. Also in ideation is the proposed creation of 2 new work streams, one for community moderation and the other for tokenomics. So if you want to read any deeper on any of these topics and perhaps weigh in with your opinion, head over to the ShapeShift forum. So that's a wrap for this DAO News Spotlight. Make sure you like, subscribe if you haven't already done so. It's been a real pleasure working with the ShapeShift team. Had them over for trivia. It was a blast. Special thanks to Willie, Fox, and Hunt for making that event possible. And we will be post-producing the entire trivia event as a standalone video, so keep an eye out for that. You'll learn something about ShapeShift. You're going to get some amazing alpha. Willie really dropped some pretty cool stuff in that game, so keep an eye out. Make sure, again, you subscribe to get that fresh content. In the meantime, stay bullish, and we'll see you in the next video.